A mais um episódio aqui do Bebendo Marca, essa edição especial, em parceria com a Abracerva, com a Brasil Brau e com o cervejar.com. A gente está aqui para contar um pouco de algumas histórias das pessoas que estão passando aqui pela Brasil Brau. Então, fique ligado, vai ter muito episódio legal. E a gente está aqui agora, eu tenho a honra, o prazer de receber aqui essa lenda da história, né? A gente tem, cara, assim, é muito grandioso estar sentado aqui com Doug Odell. Doug, thanks for your time. It's a honor to have you here with us.
Thank you, Junior.
And I would like to ask you some things about your brewery. But before, I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Before, how did you get in the beer business? How was before Anchor? What did you do? What did you study?
Well, when I got out of college, this was a long time ago.
Okay.
It was 1975, and as was just mentioned in the seminar this morning, that homebrewing wasn't technically legal in the United States until 1978. So I was doing illegal things by homebrewing. But I got together with an old high school friend of mine, and we decided to make some beer. And you're probably not surprised, with the first few batches were terrible. But then part of the reason behind why the ingredients were, they just weren't. You couldn't find anything that was any good because the legality of the whole thing kind of just put a damper on it, on all the homebrewing activity. But,
what about the equipment?
It was just kitchen stuff.
Okay.
A big pot on the stove. But then gradually more and more supplies became available, and I learned how to go from extract brewing to the full malted barley brewing. And pretty soon people were telling me that the beer I was brewing at home was as good as what you could buy, by 1985, I think, 10 years after I started. And so I was always kind of the guy who wanted to be his own boss. And I had my own landscaping business, building fences, installing plants, grass lawns and things like that. But I was brewing a lot, and I really, really liked it. And when I got married, my wife was all for, said, "You want to go into business? Sure, let's do it." So we decided to start a brewery in 1989. So that's the story up to when we started our brewery.
But I would like to come back a little bit. How long did you work for Anchor?
Oh, it was only a short period of time, maybe 6 months.
6 months.
And actually, I had the lowest job on the level. After the mash vessel was empty of grain.
Okay.
I climbed in and cleaned it like this.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that was done, the brew kettle was empty, so I'd climb inside and do the same thing. But what I learned at that job, this was back in 1978. Sierra Nevada hadn't even started yet. So Anchor was one of the very first breweries that were making beer that weren't like Budweiser and Miller and those brands. And what I learned is that when people found out that I worked there, even though I had the hardest job in the place, they just wanted to know all about it. They said, that beer tastes like nothing else we can get. And I started thinking, wow.
I can imagine it. Even right now, I am interested in that, because Anchor at that time was a very big thing, right?
In San Francisco.
Yeah.
But not much outside of it.
Okay.
And yeah, people were actually interested in knowing, why is that so different? What do you do differently to make the beer taste like something more than just light beer? And it was 10 years later that we finally opened our own brewery. but that stuck in my mind that it made an impression, beer like that. So, and even when, I mean, it took quite a long time to get started. And so even though the progress here in Brazil has been slow going, it's picking up now. But when we started our brewery in 1989, this 11 years after I worked at Anchor, there was still less than 200 breweries in the United States. And now there's 10,000.
Okay.
So, it takes a while to get going, but once it did, it really took off.
What was your main difficulty to start your business? Because you started business with your wife and your sister, right?
My sister, yeah.
How was that?
I was the brewing and production side, and my wife, she has a master's degree in business, and so she was the business finance person.
She was the boss.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They are
the boss of the company. I was the boss of the brewery.
Okay. And at home, who was the boss? She was the boss, of course. No?
Even.
No?
No, even.
Okay. Even, okay.
Division of labor.
Okay.
And my sister, she's always been a people person,
Okay.
Now she became our human resource, our people person. And so I like to say that I was the brewing side, my wife was the business side, and my sister broke up the fights between us.
Okay. So it was a good thing to have three people in the at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it.
And how big did you start it? How big was the brewery?
1,500 later.
Okay. With how many people?
2, my sister and me.
Just you.
Even my wife was working at another place, and she did the brewery business work at night.
Okay.
That only lasted a year and a half.
Okay.
And then she was able to come on full time when we started getting some income.
And when was what was the next steps? When did you realize that would be a business for your family? When was the turn point? Like when you start to say, when was the turn point to become like what Odell is nowadays? Or when did you realize that, oh, okay, I'm doing right?
Well, I think there was 2, the early one and the later one.
Okay.
The earlier one, when we opened our doors, we were just a manufacturing brewery.
Okay.
No restaurant, no bar. And at the same time we were building our brewery, there was some guys I got to know who were building a brew pub to open. So they had the restaurant and the bar and everything. They opened 2 weeks before us, and the place was just so full of people and very, very successful opening. And we opened 2 weeks later, and it was much quieter for ours. And I remember thinking, oh man, did we do the wrong thing? Should we have done a restaurant? But then 2 months, 3 months after we got some placements, people started calling us, and they said, like my friend Joe down the street, he's doing well with your beer. I need it too. And then the ball started rolling then. And we were draft only, just keg beer.
Okay.
It went from maybe 6 accounts to 25 within 3-4 months. So that was the first turning point.
Okay. I'm right.
This is working. And this is all just in our town of 80,000 people at the time. But then, a year later, we're going into 2-3 years, started getting calls from Denver, the big city in Colorado, and then the state to our north, Wyoming.
How long are you from Denver? How
1 hour drive.
1 hour.
And Boulder is another well-known city. So getting calls from distributors saying we'd like to carry a beer. And so that was kind of the second one where, wow, we seem to be attracting attention from at least people in the beer business in Colorado.
And what's your thought about that? Why? Because of the beer, because of the story that you were telling. What in that time? What people were? What were they talking about your brand? What did they say about? Why did they call you?
Because it was different and it was made local.
Okay.
But Junior, the issue that we ran into in the beginning, of which I'm sure that brewers have had the same issue here, was the consumers. They didn't know what craft beer was.
Okay.
Lack of education. You know, everybody thought beer was the same. You know, beer is that light colored stuff that, and so our job was to educate people, and oftentimes it was one by one. You know, go and hang out at the bar one night and have a promotion and sell your beer for 25% off, and people come in and they learn about you. So that was that's kind of how the word of mouth started.
How different was your lineup? How many beers did you have at that time?
Oh, we had a golden ale and I guess it was kind of a Scottish ale, and then a wheat beer.
Okay.
You know, more traditional styles, European styles. And now, you know, everything under the sun is people are making. But we started with those, and you also have to remember that I bet there's 10 times as many hop varieties available today than what was available to us 35 years ago.
Yeah. So you have to wasn't that easy as it is today. And going farther in your history, after some time, how was the deal with the people that work in the factory? How did you have that idea? How they became part of the company, as they bought some part of the company, right?
No, we'd grow
Okay.
and say I needed help in brewing, or we needed more somebody else to wash kegs or deliver beer. And so just as we grew, we put out the word, and people wanted to work for us.
Okay.
Because it was a fun business.
All right. No, I'm talking about when they became a partnership.
Oh, that was much later. So, after we started with 2 people, and by the time 2015 came around, we had a little over 100 people.
How big in liters?
In 2015, about 10 million.
Okay.
And so, we started kind of older than some people in the brewing industry start. And so we started looking at how we were going to retire and how the brewery was going to continue after we were gone.
Okay.
And at that time, some of our fellow brewers were selling to private equity companies or Anheuser-Busch, a few other large companies, and we didn't want to take that route. We wanted to try and preserve our legacy and who we were as much as possible. And so the deal we ended up making was the 3 of us hold 10% each still. So we have 30%. And we sold 51% to our 3 senior managers who had been with us a combined 40 years, 35, 40 years. So they really knew. And then 19% to all the other employees at the business. So now it's entirely employee owned. And we're very proud of that.
Yes. And was it how was this decision between you 3? Everyone was thinking the same? Or did you think how there's a lot of money coming here? There was no fight about selling or to the big companies. No, you said no. We are independent, and we're gonna be.
It was important to stay independent.
Okay,
that was the most important thing.
All right,
and money is just a scorecard. So I think we won with the deal we made by preserving what we had and giving it a good future. So whether you win a football match by 5-1 or 1-0, you still win.
Yes, and very nice, and it's a very nice thought. So here in Brazil, we have a lot of people coming out from the being home brewing, and they are at this time like launching their new brands. There's a lot of people doing that. What would you say to somebody that is starting in this business right now?
I think find what's unique about yourself.
Okay.
And pursue that. Give your brewery your personality, so people know who you are and what you represent and what's important to you.
Excuse me, I will say something in Portuguese to the camera about that, okay? Sure. Gente, insight, né, é muito legal ouvir, né, do Doug Odell aqui nessa mesa, essa frase que ele acabou de falar. Então ele falou, se a gente tivesse que falar uma coisa para quem está começando, a frase dele é, seja único, procure algo que seja só seu. Então eu fico até emocionado aqui na câmera de ouvir essa frase, porque é uma coisa que a gente tem repetido muito. Então é muito importante isso. It's something that I think just like you, so that's to people to try to find what are only them.
Yeah.
So that's why I stopped. Sorry, because it's something that I really believe.
Explain that idea.
Yeah.
Help to explain that idea.
Yes. So, and what would you say to the breweries that they are already at the market? What would you say to them? Something that we can learn from the U.S. market, because I believe that the U.S. market it's much ahead of because of the time you started in the 70s, right? And here in Brazil we have like 20 years or 15 years that this thing it's become like a market.
Yeah.
So what would you say to them?
I think at this point in the craft brewing industry in Brazil, it's very important that all the craft brewers continue to try and work together to strengthen their segment of the beer business and try to avoid infighting. And craft brewers are stronger working together than fighting each other. And with the market share that the craft brewers in Brazil have right now, that's a common goal that you all have, is to grow that. So I would say that, and the only other one is grow by your quality of product, grow by the integrity of your company, not by price. Don't lower your price.
Okay. So I will say in Portuguese again. Sure. Então, gente, é a segunda pessoa que vem de fora que fala pra gente se unir, né? Que é a segunda mensagem de união. Então, assim, qual a mensagem que a gente está passando, né, para eles, para ser a segunda pessoa a dizer isso? Então, assim, é muito importante a união das cervejarias. Então, e alguma mensagem a gente está passando para ser a segunda pessoa que vem dos Estados Unidos falando para vocês, fiquem juntos, façam as coisas juntos. É a melhor maneira. Então, e aí outra coisa que ele repetiu aqui é, cara, não foque o seu business no seu preço, né? Não, as pessoas não compram o preço. Não? Então, é mais uma lição pra gente. Doug, do you still drinking?
Do I still drink beer?
Yes.
Not yet today, no.
Not yet today? So,
not yet.
I really want to have a beer with you and talk a little bit more. Would you drink a beer with me?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Later on. I'll be here.
Yeah. Okay.
Whenever you're free, Junior.
Yes. Okay. What did you say? Sorry.
Right. Whenever you are free, Tab.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna have a beer together. It's gonna be a big pleasure for me to drink a beer with you. It's too early to have a beer here, but
Right.
afterwards we're gonna have a beer together. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to us?
No, well, just that, I see the progression of craft beer here. I see it in more places, more bars that open up to that specialize in craft beer. So I think the progress is good. The outlook is good. So I hope it keeps going on.
All right. Thanks a lot again. It was a very, very big pleasure for me to have you here in this place. And we're gonna have a beer later.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bom, pessoal, esse foi mais um episódio do Bebendo Marca. Então, de novo aqui, né? Eu tô até quase chorando aqui de emoção, né, de ter o Doug Odell aqui com a gente. E fiquem ligados, a gente vai ter muito mais conteúdo como esse aí, contando mais histórias, né? Essas histórias de transformação e pegando insights aqui. Saúde e até a próxima.